Everybody, welcome back to the seventh rule. It's your lucky day. CIRROC LOFTON is here.
Hello.
Yay.
It's our lucky day because he's always here. What a relief.
Yay.
Melissa Longo, of course, as well. Also our lucky day. I feel like I should have just said that about CIRROC. Like, isn't it a lucky day when I'm here? It is. Here are the trivioids of the week, everybody. Jadzia Dax can recognize a person by the rhythm of their steps. Jadzia Dax releases Julian Bashir's tension with her hands. Odo has never coupled. Keiko O'Brien doesn't like it on Deep Space Nine. Joseph Sisko, I can't say Joseph Sisko without smiling, used to make his family test his new recipes. Keiko O'Brien just needs to be useful. Seemed like a kind of a rude line. Ibadan likes back smooches, at least his clone does. Besides Jake and Nog, there are 12 other kids between the ages of 8 and 16 on Deep Space Nine. Odo is an ill-tempered, overbearing crosspatch, whatever that means. Dax used to beat Sisko regularly at bare fist Juro counterpunch, and Miles gives Keiko a bell. He did.
Yeah.
And she was thrilled. Like, does he never get her stuff to where she's like, oh my God, it's thank you for the bell.
Thanks for this bell.
Stop sneaking up on me, Keiko.
No, because you know how in the old days the school people would ring the bell to start school.
It was really cute. There are a lot of really cute moments.
It's so cute. I love when Molly said, "Okay, mommy."
That was one.
She's so adorable.
Cute.
Yeah.
Was that her first episode on Deep Space Nine? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so.
For both Keiko and Molly.
I did it. I guess in hindsight, there's so many moments that I didn't appreciate the first go around watching it that I do now. After having watched the relationships build and form and develop. And one of the things that popped out to me was, Quark and Odo back and forth between each other. When he says the O'Briens are fighting, when Quark says, we're on the street, we're on the grapevine says that the O'Briens are fighting or something. And then he goes on to say, she doesn't like it here. And Odo's response was, who does? And I just thought it was, I was like, that's a great delivery. I love the way he did that. The other thing I thought was great, and just a special thing for me to hear in hindsight, was when Odo's kind of going over in his head about relationships and saying, I just never understand why humans, need to couple. And I thought, wow, this is a great arc for Odo, because we're watching the beginning of his storyline and he's like anti-relationship. He gives all the reasons why, because if I want to do this and she wants to do this, I have to.
And we're all watching knowingly. We're like, you say that now, Odo.
Yeah. Yeah. But you'll be watching that Klingon opera sooner than later.
And it's Kira who defends him the most in this episode, or most vehemently above everyone else, which is awesome.
Which is great. Which is like, this is just like such a great foreshadow for their relationship and how it's going to eventually. Like, she's so defensive for him. He's so anti-couple, and I don't want that. I love seeing the budding, the beginning of something, and now I know where it's going to go. At that time, you didn't know where it was going to go, and it was fun to see it just kind of unfold in front of our face. I also like how Quark defends Odo too. He says he's no killer. And the guy says, "Well, I thought you were his worst enemy." He said, well, that maybe I'm his closest friend or something to that effect. But I thought that was great that Quark steps up and he's like, yeah, he might be this, he might be that, but he's no killer. And he defends Odo. Great kind of foreshadow for their, frenemies type of relationship.
Yeah, it was a great moment to show us, kind of establish their relationship prior to the first episode and then up to this point. And it tells us that they've known each other for quite some time, so they do have kind of a rapport, even though they appear to be enemies. They're much more than that, and Quark standing up for Odo really shows that too.
And Odo, it seemed to me that Odo was seriously asking Quark if he could get a job with him, basically. And then because when Quark was like, you almost had me going there, Odo was like, oh yeah, because Odo doesn't joke really, so I think he kind of meant it. And to go even deeper, I think that Quark knew that Odo was not joking, but he was pretending to think he was joking so that he could say no without having to actually say no, to where he's like, I know you're just kidding. I know you don't really mean that. That I feel like that was the underlying meaning there. Maybe I took it the wrong way, but I think that's what it was Quark was just saying like, oh, I know you don't really mean it, rather than saying no thanks, Odo.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I saw. It's funny because in that moment, I felt like he was contemplating how he could use those talents of a shapeshifter to his advantage.
He did.
So it was going through his head like, how could that work? And then he thought to himself, but then I would have to reveal all my
no
my
deal
escapades. No deal. I don't want you to know what I'm up to. Yeah, just great back and forth between the two of them. In the beginning, he said to him, "You're almost making an honest living, Quark." Like, you're almost making an honest living, right? He hit him with that, and then later on, during that scene that you're talking about, Ryan, when he offers him a job, or when he says, "Do you have a job for me?" Odo says, "I've turned you into a better crook."
Steel sharpens steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just love the back and forth between them. Really good relationship building. Very good also with Cisco and Dax, kind of like going back through their history, but also with Cisco and Bashir when he tells Bashir like, "Hey, look, you don't have to worry about me. I'm not trying to get with Dax. I look at Dax as like my old buddy from back in the day, and I could tell you about the 7-foot twins, but I think I should. I'd rather not." He paused on that 7-foot twin sister story, but I just like the conversations. It shows that they're relationship building, that everybody's spending time to get to know each other and what their tendencies are. Also, how they can be there for each other as well. Like Kira is trying to be there for Odo. Quark is trying to be there for Odo. Keiko is trying to be there for the kids who she sees, having nowhere to go and nothing to do, and which is a whole nother subject that I thought, what a great thing when Keiko says to Rom, she's trying to convince Rom, why don't you let Nog come to my school? And Nog, Rom's like, he'll never listen to women. He'll never listen to you because you're a woman. I love the way he says, "Little lady, little lady,
little lady."
What do you know about Ferengi education, right? I just thought I just loved it, right? But then she giving her pitch, I thought gave the great pitch when she says, "Consider the advantages your son will have once he learns about other cultures."
Right.
Keiko, in that moment, told us exactly how Nog's future was going to play out.
Yeah.
In just that one sentence, in that one line, when she says, "Consider the advantages your son will have once he learns about other cultures." And I think that's true for all of us, in our own upbringing in life. The more we have knowledge about other cultures, the more we have advantages in our own life. And,
absolutely.
And I think that just played out so well for Nog's storyline, who was abrasive, who was reluctant to get to know anything outside of whatever his comfort zone was, and expanding his mind to learning about other cultures, to embrace the idea of more than just whatever he grew up knowing, is what makes Nog a great Ferengi in the long run. It's going to make Nog the man he becomes. And I think it's just a great foreshadow for Keiko to say that she was right.
Well, and how that expands like a ripple in the pond to Rom himself, and him bettering himself because he sees how how his son has bettered himself by knowing these humans and other species.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's she really lays it out well. The other thing is, I love the interplay between Odo and Sisko in this episode.
Man, when Sisko smacked him down for a second, because Odo was making good points, I get it, but Sisko had to remind him, "Hey, this isn't a debate. We're not
right.
You are not in charge of what the rules are around here. Sisko barely is, but he certainly is more in charge. He still has to answer to Starfleet, but he certainly is more in charge than Odo. And there was a moment there where he kind of had to remind Odo, bro, talk all you want, but if you can't do the job that's laid out in front of you, I'll find someone else who can." And Kira's like, "I'll do it." she can handle it.
No, I thought it was great because Sisko says, "If you can't work within the rules, I'll find someone who can."
Yep. Right.
And he just shuts it down in the beginning. And then when Sisko finally does decide that he has to take him off the case because it's a conflict of interest, and he comes into the office, and when he tells Odo to sit down, he's like, "Sit down." When Sisko says it like that, it's like, okay.
Oh no, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah, like, okay. So he sits down, and then they go through their whole thing, and Sisko says something to the effect like, I don't believe you did it or anything. I believe you're innocent. And Odo's like, really? And he does that really.
That was such a great delivery of just that one word. I put that in my notes as well. Yes. Really? We're like,
the way he said it. Yep.
Odo don't believe him.
Odo don't believe him. And Odo's out for himself because he does come out in another great line when he says, you don't know me. Boom, right off top. You don't know me. It's like Odo's like matter of fact. Like he doesn't joke. So I kind of agree with you, Ryan, that he wasn't joking when he put that proposal in front of Quark. He just wanted to know what other options he had in front of him because he was thinking that maybe I won't be doing security anymore.
Well, sorry, I was just going to say, do you know who we do know? But I'll let you. What did you have something else? Seemed like there was more to it.
The last line after he says, "You don't know me. I'll take care of my own best interests." And it was just like a mic drop type of moment when he turns on Sisko. Yeah.
So
love that scene.
Speaking of people we know and our own best interests, let's give some special thanks to a few people, some of which you may see in a moment. Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman Tom, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arukin, Titus Moeller, Darlena Marie, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Jed Thompson, Luther Haynes Jr. Dr. Courtney Lewis, Beth Ernest, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, of course, and also, of course, Jason Oken. Everybody stick around. We have Dennis Matalone next. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule.